Well done.
There's another new.
Okay. I have it, that's one thing.
So, all right, good evening, everyone. Our city clerk, Colleen Norton, could not be here this evening, so I will be playing the role of city clerk for the first transitional portion, thank you, Dennis, for the transitional portion of the meeting. You have your agenda. We're broken into two sections, because this is our first, Arts and Culture Board member. Really welcome. Our other new member, Cameron, will be with us next month. She had a business trip that was always scheduled and could not get out, but so we'll call to order at 6:35 p.m. And to the council liaison report, Joel.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say, first of all, that the State of the Arts was an awesome event. My wife and I had a blast there. I thought it was I was very pleased that there was good attendance from city council. And otherwise just a really inspiring thing to see and hear about all the work that you all have done over the last year, and also about like what community members are doing, and to be able to honor a lot of that historical, long-standing work that people have done. It was a great thing to be a part of. So thank you to all of you for all of your work on that. And then this past week, this isn't part of the agenda already, so I'm not going to talk about it much. But the meeting on Tuesday at City Council, I thought went really well. So I was pretty excited to hear about some of I'd already gotten to hear a little bit about it. But to have the rest of council hear it, to see how it was presented, and to some of the other discussions that we had there, I thought were really interesting and good. So thank you all for all of your hard work.
Joel. The next item on the agenda is board orientation and training. Because Colleen is not here to do the fine print on this, I will simply refer you to the boards and commissions handbook. There's a copy for each of you over on the table, if you didn't already get one when you came in. It is relatively short, but I would suggest everybody take a quick look through it. In particular, page 6 discusses the role of an advisory board, which is what Arts and Culture Board is. That will give you some of the ins and outs of what is involved with that. I would also suggest that if anyone would like to know more about meetings law and things like that, to go to the city website and look at the training given to the Environmental Stewardship Board last week. Colleen was able to deliver that, and it has some really interesting information about some of the more technical aspects. A lot of them will not pertain to us because we're not quasi judicial, but some of them will, and it's always good to have that kind of refresher. Much of that information is also here in the handbook. You better read it, but if you are a visual learner, the video is quite good. Member introductions.
All right.
I'm sorry.
We need signatures.
I don't know, JD, where's that on the
Page 12.
It's in the packet.
Oh,
Buried in the middle.
thank you. Yes, you will need to return those next month with your signature.
Or if you want to sign it now, you can give it to me.
That's what I do see we need to update one of them because we have old mayor in the on page.
Do we
No.
give them to?
Give them to Jenny. Thanks, JD.
And if anything on page 11 is important, you won't have it, so.
You can always grab it in the book, so we will have extras.
Oh, it's all about liability.
Yeah, who needs that?
We can email it to you too.
As a lawyer.
As an attorney.
Yeah, the attorney probably.
Would you advise that we read this before
Attorney
signing?
probably doesn't think I should say, don't worry about that part. We'll do member introductions now. I'm Tim Nims, the museum director, one of the staff liaisons for the board.
And you've been with the city how long?
23 years. Thanks.
Happen. Dennis Quinn, library director. I'm going to be coming up on 2 years in a few months, and co/support liaison for the group in partnership with Tim.
JD McCrum. I've been on this board / commission. You can read that page in the handbook too, because we will return.
For the liability?
No, to a commission, the quasi judicial part. Yeah.
That's it?
I could go on and on, but I won't.
Okay, Denise Weed. I joined the board a year after it was formed, and I'm excited that we're going into our third cycle of grants, so it'll be a good year for us.
Joel Zink, City Council. Nice to see you all.
No, Alsham's, I've been around for, this will be the third round of all the arts and culture grants, so. Been here, yeah, 2 years.
Joseph Haynes, I believe, it's the second year, second or third round, something like that.
Second year.
Second year, something like that.
My name's Anna Dicey. I'm the public art administrator, so here on museum staff. Michelle Siren, and I just got my second. What do you call it? Second round?
Reappointment.
Second appointment, yeah. So
Nice.
just starting my second round.
I'm Keely Quinn. I'm not related to Dennis.
Though we get along just fine.
Yeah. At least as far as we know, we're not related. This is my first meeting. I'm excited to be here. I founded and run Littleton Q Plus, which is the organization that does the downtown Littleton Farmers Market and Big Pride Littleton. So I am engaged in like the culture of Littleton a lot, and I'm excited to be on this side of it too. And I'm grateful that you all gave me a grant last year. So thanks for that.
My name is Kate Eckel. I am one of the founding members with Tim Nims, Debbie Brinkman, and Karina. We started this from its inception, so I've been involved since 2019.
I'm Joni Lieb. I've been on this board a year coming off of the Fine Arts Board when that was
Dissolved. Folded under.
Encompassed.
Wrapped in
oh, that one.
Warmly wrapped in.
We're a thesaurus.
Wrapped in a warm blanket. Of course. I'm Jenny Hankinson. I'm Senior Curator of Collections here at the museum.
And you'll notice that none of us have personality, so
Not at all.
these are very.
I wouldn't expect personalities on an art and culture
Yeah, these are
board. I would
very
expect
well
really
managed,
dull
obviously.
people.
Next up, board leadership. This is the prelude to our elections for our board chair and vice chair. Reminder that each year we elect a new chair and vice chair. You can serve 2 consecutive years and then you cycle out and go back as a regular member. Denise and JD have just completed their first year, so they are eligible for a second year if so nominated and elected. So I would open the floor for nominations for board chair for 2019 or 2025.
I nominate JD.
I second.
Any additional nominations? I will close the floor. All in favor of JD as for a second term as chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Me being the chair, the ayes have it.
I want to be clear, I would have raised my hand, but I don't have the
All right, same process. I'll open the floor for nominations for board vice chair.
I nominate Denise Weed as the vice chair.
Second.
Thank you. Second, Michelle. Additional nominations? I will close the nominations. All in favor of Denise for a second term as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Chair, the ayes have it.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Sorry, Tim.
Oh, I'm not. All right, at this point, I will adjourn the transitional meeting at 6:44. I will turn it over to our re-elected chair to call us back into order.
Call us back into order and ask for the director's reports.
At the library, we, the month of March was allocated to our annual One Book, One Littleton series of programs. We did a couple things different with it this time around. Typically in the past, we've held that occasion in the fall. But due to some programmatic changes and also some changes in staff, and also just issues with programs in the fall, and generally decided to move it to the spring of 2025. And this year also did not have a flagship guest presenter on the topic. We rather sort of spread the theme out across about a month's worth of programming and sort of weaving the theme into a lot of what we did, adding a couple of guest speakers and informational presentations on top of it. The book of focus was Ralph Moody's Little Bridges. And so as I mentioned in the past, it provided us a lot of occasion for not just celebrating local literature, but also local history. We had three that I can remember, distinct sort of author or expert talks on topics related to the book, topics about what life in Littleton was like at the time of Ralph Moody. We booked out the gallery with the partnership with the museum, who provided the content for the exhibit. Thank you for that. Curated a collection of photographs and artifacts from the time of Ralph Moody's Littleton, to good feedback and positive attendance, and happy to report that it was well received by all. That was the theme for the month of March. Now we're in the month of April, and you'll notice that we have a lot of poetry themed things going on. April is National Poetry Month. We have a version of the 6-word story contest going. And also this week, the 6th to 12th is National Library Week. So we have some celebrations going on for that as well. Also underway is a spring reading challenge open to ages 4 through 12, which runs through April 15th. So if you or your kid has not gotten into that, there's a little bit of time left. And we're just gearing up for summer programs for 2025. All ages programming starts the beginning of June generally, and runs for kids and teens through the end of July, and for adults through the end of August. But again, that's sort of our peak season when school is out, the public library steps into high gear. And so that's where all of our staff is focusing on finishing details wrapped up for that. So that's programmatically what we have going on. I'll also say later in our agenda, we'll have an item to discuss subcommittee assignments. The library subcommittee of this body is generally a group that I'll pull on for when we're reviewing or revising a policy or implementing a new policy. We have things going on that need a sounding board from the community. That's what we lean on this group for. So I will have some business for that group once we have our appointments finalized, and be working closely with that group in the coming months. I guess last note I'll say, on a bit more mundane level, we're inching closer to having our elevator back in service, which we are so happy for. I don't have a date yet, but progress is happening. That's life at the library these days.
A quick report from the museum. One of the things you have heard me talk about for the last couple of years is the revisioning that we're doing in our history gallery. That's the gallery where we tell the story of Littleton from start to now. As we've been working on that for the last couple of years with a lot of community engagement. Just finished a year-long process of concept master planning. And I'm happy to, and I'll know a lot of you participated in some of those focus groups and community engagement processes. So many thanks for your contributions there. I'm happy to say that we are in the process of awarding a contract for the design phase, which is the second phase of this process. We'll go to council late May to take the contract into them, but we have selected Studio Tectonic, which was the firm that did the concept master planning. We had 9 finalists that we reviewed, a couple from in-state, several from out of state in different places, and did make it a very competitive and fair process, but certainly with Studio Tectonic's familiarity already with the concept master plan, they had the greatest grasp of where we were going with the vision of the gallery. So I'm happy that we'll be working with them again. So look forward to that on your council agenda in the next couple of weeks. The other item that is upcoming is the museum's reaccreditation. Every 10 years, the museum is reaccredited by applies for reaccreditation with the American Alliance of Museums, our national umbrella group organization. We have about a year to do self-study, which includes primarily a review and updating of all of our core documents, so strategic plans, collections management plan that Jenny oversees, and several others. All of those will come to the museum subcommittee. Dennis mentioned the library subcommittee will be being convened shortly after it's appointed. Same with the museum's board subcommittee. We'll have some business for you all to conduct, approving or hopefully approving the changes we've made to our core documents. That is due by the end of June, and then in November we'll have a site visit from 2 or 3 museum professionals come out, do a complete assessment of the operation top to bottom. that we will learn the decision of the accreditation commission in February of next year. So we have been continually accredited since 1970, so I don't think we'll have a hiccup this time, but you never know until you get the final vote. And that's it from the museum side.
Thank you both. I will add that this coming Tuesday night is an evening with William Shakespeare
It is.
at the library. And I hope someone goes because I can't and it makes me very sad.
Where's it at? That's what
At the library. It's gonna be in. Sorry, obvious answer first, then I answer your actual question.
As I
it's-
said, at the library.
Yes, of course, right, yeah, well, sorry. Well,
So it's at the librry.
I have
Just to
heard
be
it's,
really clear.
I have heard it will be at the library. No,
You'll probably want to around the library.
that could be anywhere for all I know.
Dennis has
It's
had a very long day.
Yes, I was in a day-long meeting with some leadership and let's just say by the end of it, some of us were feeling kind of punchy. To answer your actual question, normally we would hold that kind of event in the large meeting room in the lower level. But again, like many of our programs that normally they're held there because of the elevator, we're gonna be relocating it to the main level. It's gonna be held in Sophie's place.
Okay.
So for those who aren't familiar, you enter the library through the main entrance, you immediately turn a left and go to like the newspaper magazine area. You'll see sort of a casual seating area or what's normally a casual seating area, but instead there'll be rows of chairs and that's where we'll host an evening with Mr. William Shakespeare.
I attended an evening with Louis Armstrong at the end of February and it was amazing. So. Very good. I don't believe we have anyone here for public comments, but I will throw out the offer just the same. Seeing no one, we will move on to old business and project updates. Floor is yours.
Thanks, somehow again. I do have some updates for you all. I know you're all waited with bated breath to hear an update on our grant numbers so far for this year. The application deadline is tomorrow at midnight, so we do traditionally have a lot of people who wait until like really the 12th hour. But when I checked midday today, we had approximately 30, maybe a little bit more. So just to prepare yourselves, I'm sure we'll have more than our first year, but probably significantly less than last year. And I think that's probably largely to do with the new requirements that we put in place for this coming year. So only nonprofits can apply. And then if you remember, we restricted the programming to be within the designated Littleton city limits. So we'll see. Like I said, there's a lot of procrastinators.
How many did you have? How many did you have?
We had 64 last year.
You're gonna have that many. Trust me, everyone's gonna sit there.
Katie said 60. Okay, all right. Well, I
Maybe
hope for
somebody's
all of our
dropping.
sakes, we
Yeah.
don't have to.
We hope Katie's
Is that-
wrong.
It's gonna be 60, I bet,
Yeah.
at least. Just get
Wow,
ready.
okay, well,
Is that all 4 tiers in the number you shared?
that is
with
all
us
4
tonight?
tiers. Yes, we are still waiting for, I believe, like one more tier 1. So we'll see.
I'd like to
update you as
know.
those numbers
We'll
come
find
through.
out.
My guess, yeah, well, we'll see.
Just get ready.
Yeah.
I will just note that the last 2 years I have bet Anna on how many we were going to have and I have been wrong each time.
Really?
She's been spot on, so I'm gonna have to go with her this time, Katie.
Okay.
57.
57.
Ooh.
I feel like
Oh, yeah, we
the price
can't
is
that.
right.
That would be wrong.
We can't put money on it.
We're just a board. I can leave the room. If we were,
We're not even quasi.
if we were a commission, we couldn't bet.
When did we go to a board? Was it after your?
The start of.
I
term
see,
last
Yeah,
I
was
see where this is going.
Was it the start? Yeah, because it was a commission for a while.
Under your leadership.
Yeah, just pointing that out.
I need my gavel. So that's your update for lodging tax for now. We will see. Again, that deadline is tomorrow at midnight. I'm sure we'll have plenty coming in tomorrow. Mural program, we do have an exciting update because museum staff selected a wall for mural program funding this year. And it is the wall for Boost e-bikes, which is along Windermere as you're driving north, just prior to the intersection with Littleton Boulevard. It's a long, almost 90-foot brick wall along the right side of the street, the east side. It shares a building with Penny Robin Dance
Wait,
well.
is it,
It's the backside of Woodlawn Shopping.
it's the
Center.
backside,
Exactly.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what I
Or
thought.
the
So right
west-
next to Harley's.
It's the west side, yeah.
And
Hot
it's,
dog place.
I talked to them
yeah,
about the
it's
mural.
all right in there, yeah.
Oh, it's cool.
It's also the start of the bike lane that begins there. So the owner is really interested in making it generally bike themed, potentially working with Save the Streets Littleton. Save the Streets Littleton?
Yeah.
Yes.
So cool.
So more on that coming. But Jenny and I just went to go take some pictures and measurements today, and it's a very impressive wall. You don't really notice it when you're driving by at 40 miles an hour, as many cars do, but when you're, yes, yes.
But 90 feet,
But
That's really
around,
great.
I think I just under, yeah.
that's a lot of space.
It's a lot of brick.
You're gonna notice the wall.
Yeah.
You're gonna notice it now, yeah. Did you get an artist?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I want him to use Emily Dykes.
Can I just, we just did this mural at Aspen Grove this week.
Oh,
Well, that's cool.
Aw.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting.
We're all kind of punchy tonight, aren't we?
I know.
Katie, where did it?
It's where Lululemon used to be. So it's 10 feet high by, it's really big. It's like the size of that whole wall. So
That's awesome. And
we
that's
did it in
beautiful.
2 days
Wow.
with students. Sorry.
So what
We are
kind of,
punchy.
That's
what
cool.
kind of paint was used?
They do it on the windows, so he used acrylic.
Whoa.
Anyway. Pretty cool.
My last couple updates, just briefly, I know we already spoke about it quickly, but our State of the Arts event was really a fun time last week. So thank you to all of those who showed up. Did end in an impromptu dance party, which I was not expecting, but I admire those who took part, so.
You took part too.
Cause of you. Unknowingly.
The mayor danced.
the mayor did
Mayor
good.
did
The mayor danced.
Not only to those who participated, but also those who organized it.
Oh, okay.
And we do have swag bags in case
Yes.
you've missed out or want something else, so.
There's some good little things on there too. And then finally, why did I say that? Our second quarterly CAP group of the year is May 21st. And it will be hosted at ACC. Thank you, Katie and Trish. The first hour will be at the Colorado Gallery at the main campus of ACC. And then the second hour will be walking. It's like maybe a 7-minute walk at most
Yeah.
over to the design center to do a tour, which is really fantastic. Jenny and I did that in December and it was wonderful. So I'm really hopeful that people will be able to participate in that. And that's all I have.
Starts at 8. Is that right?
8 a.m., 8 to 10 a.m. on Wednesday, May 21st,
When is the CBCA
end of April.
lunch? 22nd.
22nd, I think you're right, the
What's the
Tuesday.
CPC
Yeah.
luncheon?
Colorado Business Committee.
I will say that if you're able to make the first part, it's wonderful. But if you're able to come and tour the Arts and Design Center, it is well worth an hour out of your day if you can
Absolutely.
possibly arrange
Did invitations go out to city council?
Yes.
Joel, can you push that?
I can sure try, yeah.
Is it usually 2 hours or just 1? It's the
It's
cap.
usually like 90 minutes or
Oh,
so,
okay.
but
Yeah, a good portion of it is socializing, networking, like half hour at the beginning.
Okay.
And we're gonna do a lot of that this time around too, because it seems to be something that's really beneficial to a lot of members.
I'm usually late because it's always on a Wednesday and that's a late start date.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's 8 AM.
Yes, it's a breakfast meeting and breakfast is provided. Tim,
Hello, sorry, I'm late.
that's it for me.
JD, I've got one update for you too.
yes, please go ahead.
I did talk to the city budget manager yesterday just to get a quick snapshot of where we are with lodgers tax revenue in preparation for starting the lodgers tax grant conversation in June. And I will preface this by saying it's very preliminary. This is only January and February. It is down about 10% from where we were last year, but the budget manager says that what he's seen so far, the preliminary returns on March are higher. So we'll continue to monitor it month by month and let you know as we go along. But I don't think there's any reason to be too concerned about it at this point because it is very, very early. But that's just sort of the initial snapshot lodger's tax revenue.
So Tim, that's 10% less than where we ended up last year?
10% less than what they took in last year in those first 2 months.
Oh, comparative.
So comparing year to date,
Okay. And then, so I saw in our jumped ahead, we have May off, and then in June, what happens in June?
We actually, I'm so sorry, is an outdated agenda. We sent that out before we finalize this. We're gonna keep the May meeting.
And actually, we're.
Oh,
sorry.
I wasn't
We're-
part,
we're
oh, we've
not.
gone back again.
Sorry, but we did it, we updated it again. I checked. We don't-
Strike it from the
we aren't gonna
record.
We aren't gonna have much to do in the May meeting, and we would have to reschedule it because this entire staff is gonna be in LA for the AAM conference.
Sorry.
Then there won't be that much business to do in May. In June, we'll have those more firmed up numbers. The proposal that staff is working on right now would be to have the board do tiers 1 and 3, since those are essentially pass-throughs to city council at the June meeting. Conduct some other business, working on some of the things that came out of the council study session this past Tuesday. And then in July, we would take that first deep dive into tier 2. And we might do tier 4 that month also. We'll kind of see where revenue numbers are at. But the plan would be to come back in August and do any refinement that we need to do. And you'll recall that for this year's cycle, one of the things that we took away from last year was that we will we'll hold back about 10% of what our estimated revenue is in a contingency. So that will give us a head start if we make adjustments at the August meeting. Sorry, I was one there. Got to tell you, it was that we went back the other direction.
I have no May meeting.
Well, the board will have to make that decision, but we'll have that up for
Yeah.
later in the agenda.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, that it? Thank you very much. Next thing on the agenda is the recap of the presentation to City Council, which happened just 48 hours ago. I'm confident you all watched. So I really don't need to say a word.
I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I'm sorry I missed it.
Did we know? That's kind of my,
It was on my calendar and I couldn't come.
it was not, oh my.
That's okay. I thought it went very well. So Denise and I had the pleasure of presenting at a study session to City Council, the community strategic plan. And I mean, I will just say a couple things. One, thank you to staff for helping prepare us and putting together the slide deck and the presentation and everything else that went forward. Absolutely, much of the credit goes to them. Second, City Council was wonderful in their listening and starting to, I think, really understand what it is that we are able to bring and offer. And I would say really beginning to look at this body with a level of trust that when we bring something to them and share it with them, it is well thought through, it is well prepared, it is well supported by the staff and by the community. And so all of those things really seem to register. And we didn't pull any punches in the sense of we listed some relatively big things and certainly some things that are going to require additional support, additional funding. And even with all that, we weren't dismissed or nothing in the presentation was disqualified off the bat. So that was really encouraging to me. We talked about % for public art. We mentioned a future seat tax. We mentioned other things that are going to need funding in the future. And again, there was no strong pushback to any of that. And I will.
No, I think it went well. It's a robust document when you're talking about the strategic plan. There's a lot to it. But I think that's what you want it to be. I think that we've got a great foundation now, but it is, maybe it was Mir that said aspirational, but there are some things in there that I think we have started work on and things that we want to work on. But I felt like the response from City Council was receptive and positive, and the community certainly from the feedback that we've gotten with the Keene study was supportive, and they were also on board. We are a very arts and culture forward city. I mean, we are above the national average in everything. People that visit theater, people that visit art galleries, people that do music, we are above the national average. So I think that living in a city that values arts and artists is special. And I think that being able to present the strategic plan, I was excited. I hope you guys were all excited too. It was an exciting evening.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think it was well received. Not to go off too much, but like, I was fairly hopeful that the percent for the arts would be well received, and it seems like there's a little bit of more interest in that. There certainly is for me. And then, one thing too that caught my attention that I hope that you all would explore, and I think the council was interested in, with the lodger's tax maybe not performing as well as people might have hoped, that we could explore how we're allocating funds from that based on the tiers. One of the suggestions, I think, from the mayor was possibly alternating years and tiers so that things in tier 4 aren't just always, getting cut. So I found that to be pretty interesting. I think public art itself is, obviously we want everything to be funded well. So I'll leave it at that, but there's some really interesting avenues for exploration there.
Can you guys just talk, where are we at with the percent for public art? Like, what is, do we have a plan this year for anything with?
So that's a great segue. Thank you.
We didn't plan for that.
What comes next then is, for the first time in our existence as a body, council expressed an interest in formally adopting this plan, not just nodding in agreement and sending us on our way. So I believe in the next probably month or so, that will come forward as a resolution for the council to adopt the community arts and culture. And that's a big, assuming it passes, that is a big deal and a big step forward for us and for this plan. While we're waiting for that to happen, and based on the positive response that we got, the staff has started to work on a game plan and an action plan, not just for percent for art, but for the body of work as a whole, to figure out what are we going to tackle, how, when, what is the process to start to now realize what this looks like. And based on the feedback we got on Tuesday night, it seems like the council is willing and receptive to hearing about percent for art again this year. My goal has always been to get it before this particular council, because so many of them have a history and knowledge of it. I think 4 or 5 of our current council members participated in the discussion the last time we brought it forward. So there's a good reason to not have to re-educate a brand new council on it next year. So with some reverse engineering, we should start probably, as this group, start to look at that in the summer-ish.
We'll bring you a preliminary game plan at the June meeting.
Yeah. So, but the hope is to have it for first and second reading at the latest before November 1st, say. And what form we bring that into is still needs to be discussed by this group and kind of vetted out as to if it's essentially the same as what we talked about last time. If it's a trimmed down version, we'll get a chance to discuss all of those things, but the hope is before November, we present it to council in time for them to have first and second reading before November.
I thought one of the interesting takeaways for me from the meeting Tuesday evening, as you guys will recall, when we did this, I think Jenny, 2 years ago, something like that. There was, I think pretty good consensus around the table with council for looking at a percent per program on the public side. Now they did want us to get a couple of grant cycles under our belts to see what we can do with the lodger's tax, what we couldn't do with the lodger's tax. And I think that JD and Denise did a really good job of walking them through, the cans and the can'ts. To me, the really interesting thing was the nods around the table that they also want to come back and look at the private side. And that was really, I think, almost universally panned, not panned, but there was not support for doing it at the time we first looked at it. And no idea whether that would actually translate into them approving that piece of it, but they are curious about it and want to look at it again. So I think we will be looking at going back to the original proposal, policy proposal we put together that had both the public and the private side. We had trimmed it down to just the public side, but it sounds like council at least would like to take a look at the private side as well. And that's quite an evolution in a couple of years.
It was December 2022. We dug up the
Thank you. Yeah,
original.
that's.
Just to clarify, at least my perception back in 2022 is that JD and I were handed ASS at that point in time. Really, truly, it was tough. That was a tough meeting when they said no to both private and percentage. And so I just wanted to go from there in 2022 to you two in 2025 is a huge jump. And so thank you for that, because it was tough last time. And for them to around the table, go around and nod to both public and private says a huge amount about the board and about our representation. So thank you.
So public and private, that's public and private development?
Yeah,
Or-
so the percent programs are usually designed with one or both of those. On the public side, it's really would just be City of Littleton projects. So
okay.
it would mean that any City of Littleton project that fits within the guidelines, and there are exclusions that are built into all these policies. But anything that would fit within that would have whatever the percentages that the board recommends and council approves would have to be dedicated from that project budget. On the private side, it's a little bit more flexy. Private developers can do that percent as well. Generally, that means that installation, whatever the art piece is going to be, will go on that property. Sometimes the property isn't necessarily, appropriate for a public art installation, in which case they can do what's called a fee in lieu, which is essentially you write a check, and then that would go into a fund administered by the Arts and Culture Board, and that can be used for public art installations anywhere in the city. Generally, you kind of try to do it within the neighborhood of where that development is, so that the benefit stays where the money came from, but not always. There's not usually a type restriction on that.
Any other questions about that presentation or what comes next?
So they approved the master plan.
So in any other year, yes, but again, they have expressed an interest in formally approving it through council action. So they've approved it and gave us sort of lots of smiles and nods, which tells us that we can go ahead and start planning on what's next as an arts and culture board. But they will have the opportunity to vote to adopt it in the coming weeks. And so that has not yet happened.
We're aiming for May 20th. I have not gotten a confirmation yet from the city clerk, but that's the date we're looking at.
And I think that's a
You are the
really
city clerk.
exciting step.
That's right.
And I say it's fine.
Just for it to even be brought up on council's end to want to do that, I think is really powerful, and it's a big deal, and hopefully we can all be there in support when that comes up, it's across your desk, but that was a lovely surprise that night.
And hopefully it will occur in what's called the consent agenda, not on the main agenda. Just because if it's on a consent agenda, it happens as part of a package and doesn't usually get a lot of conversation. So hopefully that will be a very uneventful night. We will not need streamers or confetti.
If it's a
That wouldn't
resolution,
go against it.
they'll certainly still want to use it, so hopefully that's where we stay.
So will there be a subcommittee to move that forward, or will we do it as a whole board?
Probably as a whole board. I think, depending on what comes out of that work plan, there may be opportunity to have one of the three or a different subcommittee work on it. But I think we'll start the conversation as a full board. Okay, then next on the agenda, actually, subcommittee assignments. We currently have 3. We have a public arts subcommittee, which in the past year has worked on the mural program and helping to respond to and select murals that need input from this body. as well as participating in selecting the photographs for the annual City of Littleton calendar last year. I think that's the only two things that that body has focused on since it was created this time last year. That was created because the city council absorbed the Fine Arts Board into the Arts and Culture Board. And so I think, again, that committee in particular might have more work from the Arts and Culture Strategic Plan, but time will tell. I don't want to promise anything. We have the Museum Subcommittee, which Tim referenced earlier in his report, and the Library Subcommittee, which Dennis referenced in his report. So those are the three sort of standing subcommittees, and the only ones that at this time we've identified a need for. As of the beginning of this meeting, the Public Arts Committee consisted of Joni as chair, Noah, Katie, and Michelle. And if anybody disagrees or has different notes, please let me know. The Museum Subcommittee was chaired by Denise. Roy, who's no longer on the board, served on that committee, and Noah and Michelle. And the Library Subcommittee, Kate is the chair of that, or was the chair of that body. Michelle, I'm noticing a pattern.
It's not a lot. I mean, library, it's not much at all.
We didn't really have any business this past year, but that will change.
And Joe was on that subcommittee, along with Dennis and Tim and other members of staff subsequently. So that's where we stand. And kind of the way that we offered this last year was, if anybody wanted to be engaged in any of these, they could. We didn't have too many people on any of them. If for whatever reason we end up with not enough people, we might twist some arms. But I think the best way to do this is just kind of go down the list and tell me what you want to be on, and so it shall be. Any questions about those three groups and what is coming down the road for them this year that might influence whether you wish to be on it or not?
Judy, what was the third committee?
Library, museum, public art.
It's so weird because I'm like looking back at notes.
Throw it out there if anyone wants to do it.
I was looking back at some notes and I have capital improvement, library, museum, and public art. And so I was just like, I was trying to reconcile that because the third one didn't seem to, but I was trying to figure out why did I call it capital improvement?
Well, we
You
had
just said
a
it.
special appointment, didn't we, JD?
Yes,
Yeah.
so, and that is, what that is there is a committee in which one representative from each of the commissions, boards, and advisory groups sits on, that audits the, I think, 3A?
Yeah.
That audits the money that comes into the city from 3A. I don't believe we're reappointing at this time that we have.
I have not heard that.
Yeah, we haven't, so we're not talking about that one tonight because it's on a different cycle.
Okay.
I will venture to guess that Joe, who has sat on that committee for the last 2 years, would be glad to hand it off to someone else.
But always ask for volunteers.
Okay.
But I'll do it if no one else wants.
They're actually meeting. this
Yeah,
is the
we'll
season
actually
meeting.
be meeting these in the next 2 months, and I've already got my emails, so I'm kind of already locked in, so.
Yeah, so I expect
I just
that,
don't want anyone to not forget that might be something you want to volunteer for.
I can be persuaded.
yeah, we will likely be prompt to reappoint for that group for next year. And we'll be glad to.
Or it may be a lifetime appointment, Joe.
It's like the
That might be
Supreme
the
Court.
So yeah, it's just the three: museum, library, public art that we're talking about tonight. Okay. So if no questions, then I'll just go down the list, and if Dennis or Tim or somebody would help me track these.
Yep.
Let's start with public art. Who would like to serve on that subcommittee? Keep your hands up.
Hey, you.
We should have said, who does not want to?
It would have been, yeah.
Okay, so I have Noah, Katie, Michelle, Keely, Kate, and Joni. Did I miss anybody?
That's what I've got too.
Okay. And I am inclined to let you all select your chair at another time when you get together.
Up to you.
Is that fine?
Yep.
All right, next, and you can be on as many or none, whatever works for you. Next up is the museum subcommittee, which again, this year is busier than normal,
Yeah, we'll have quite a few items this year.
starting with Denise, Joe, Michelle, Joni. Okay,
How often do the subcommittees meet?
as
just depends.
needed. I think last year library met twice,
We actually did not meet
did
this.
not meet at all.
Museum met twice.
Museum met twice.
Said it was only once a week this time. around.
Yeah.
Because you anticipate.
Are those meetings gonna be at the library?
Where at the library?
Awesome. That would be too easy.
Okay.
I mean, without locking us in, I wouldn't imagine that we would call those groups more than once a month unless it was a really extenuating circumstance.
Yeah, and on the museum side, I would imagine we will probably have 2 or 3 meetings for the balance of the year, so it's not a huge slip. Could I see the hands again of those on the museum side? These are your.
So 4 people is what I counted.
Joe, Michelle, and Joe.
That was for library or museum?
That was museum. Did you have your hand up, Noah?
No.
Okay.
Okay, then finally, the library subcommittee.
Can I ask a question? Like, what types of projects for the library? Like, what does that look like?
The closest ones on the horizon are a review of our policies. We're also gearing up for revising our strategic plan. So there would be not only some, I guess, the subcommittee acting as a stakeholder body, but also having some kind of role in public engagement. Those are the 2 that come to mind.
Okay, so show of hands again. Niece, library, Joe, Michelle, Kate, Tim. Got you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And just in full disclosure, I always consider myself as chair as ex officio, so I can come and go as I choose. But I don't think I participated at all last year.
You
Okay,
you
Kate?
came in as you chose. Can I read these back?
Yes, please.
Okay, for public art, I've got Joni, Noah, Katie, Michelle, Keely, and Kate. Museum, I have Denise, Michelle, Joe, and Joni. Missing one on museum. Okay. And library, I've got Kate, Michelle, Joe, Tim, Kiwi, Denise. Okay, thanks, everybody.
And we will offline extend this conversation to our other new member. To see if she wants to step on to any of these as well.
And I would say too, Tim, if you're running short on people, because it sounds like you have the smallest roster, if you need help, happy to jump in.
Thanks.
Reach out.
I was trying not to take it personally.
Right, I didn't mean it first.
Yes.
Well, we just love libraries around here.
So then the next and last thing on our agenda is the May meeting, which we believe based on workload, we don't need to have. And the suggestion is to cancel it. Does anyone have any concerns with that based on the?
We would normally cancel the June meeting because it always conflicted with the boards and commissions dinner, always the same night as ours. This year, they have moved that to a Wednesday night. So June will be back on the schedule.
And that's, I believe, June 11th,
Yes.
Wednesday, June 11th. So mark your calendars for that. So we would then have, we will have 2 things,
Figured out.
2 nights in a row.
Yes.
So any concerns with canceling the May meeting? Very good. I told Tim offline that maybe we'll just call an impromptu happy hour on that night, should anyone care to get together and not talk about arts and culture business. But
That would be the thing. Talk business.
save that for another time. All right, so our May meeting is canceled. That brings us to the end of the agenda. And we can move into roundtable. This is just an opportunity to talk about what you've been doing or what you're going to do. That is at least semi-related to business of this board. So, Noah, can I start with you? Roundtable, anything going on that you want to share? Nope. Katie?
So, we just did the mural contest for Aspen Grove, and that was chosen by the public, the one I showed you. So the public voted on that. So we had 5 students who made it to the finalists, and that was the one that was chosen. The students are also gonna be, the second place student is gonna be doing something with the seed library in Aspen Grove as well. They're painting it. Tonight it was the opening for Capstone in the Colorado Gallery for the Arts, and that is up for 3 weeks. And we are about to do our pop-up exhibition, April 24th. It's a Thursday, of course, Thursday evening. And it's 5 to 7, and it's at Aspen Grove, right where the mural is. So it's where the old Lululemon was. It's an annex. We have the whole space. And then I have a solo show that opened on Saturday, called Anatomy of Nature, and it's up through May 31st at Plinth Gallery in Rhino.
In Rhino, okay.
That's great.
Woohoo.
So you guys are welcome to take a card.
I would like to go to Katie's exhibit, so if anybody would like to go with us.
Yeah, let me know. If it's a Saturday, I can usually meet you there. The gallery is only open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 12 to 5, or by appointment.
Sorry, Katie, what was the name of that gallery?
Plinth Gallery, it's the only ceramics gallery in Denver.
Let me know when you like to go.
Okay. If anybody hasn't seen Katie's art, it's really cool. I mean, she's really doing some cool concepts. So, yeah, really like to go.
Michelle?
I've been working with Tiffany from Juniper Seed Mercantile on her Earth Day event on April 26th. So come out for that. It should be, there's gonna be a lot going on. We're closing the street down this year. There'll be some vendors and some activities. Littleton Q is hosting a clothing swap. So if you have any clothes that you were gonna take to ARC or Goodwill, you could actually drop them off at Elsewhere Collective, and we'll organize them and put them out for people to shop at the event. And so that's gonna be, yeah, that's what I've been working on a lot. And then Farmers Market is coming back on May 25th.
Is that every other Saturday?
This year it's gonna be every Sunday.
Every Sunday?
Yeah.
And is it on the same street as last year?
Yeah, same space as last year.
Okay.
So right where Kate's Wine Bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Conveniently
No, it's not.
located next to Twine.
Conveniently.
Wait, no, it's not.
Oh.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's on Nevada. On Nevada.
Nevada, yeah.
It made me sick.
Sorry, Keely, when was the first one?
May 25th, Memorial Day weekend.
What time does it start?
It's 9 to 2.
Where is Elsewhere Collective?
On Prince,
It's right next to
near
the
the ice cream shop.
Okay, cool.
Right next to it.
Thanks.
She's done some really cool stuff.
Yeah, she makes everything.
She ran. the-
Okay, I know
she
exactly.
ran- She ran the chalk festival last year.
Yeah, I know
She's
exactly where it
awesome.
is now.
She's a go-getter.
Yeah, she's done and does
Awesome.
her own weaving.
Kelsey, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Kelsey,
Kelsey.
she's done some cool stuff.
She graciously offered to take in the clothes so that I didn't have to have people come to my house.
So along the lines of being aspirational, I got to see the Sydney Opera House this last month, which was so cool. But as we looked at like how it started in like 1958 and wasn't completed until 1973. And we were looking at the architecture, we were looking at all the different stuff that went into it, but they raised the money for it through a lottery. So I'm just trying to pop ideas into people's heads, because we still need a performing arts center or somewhere to perform for performance space. And I'm not saying that we should build a Sydney Opera House. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not.
Well, we have to build a
Saying we should start a lottery.
However, I just like, and we don't have a Queen Elizabeth to like bless it, but you know, I just want to look at different financial ways to bring something like that. And again, I think my aspiration is just something simple that really, I don't want something big and flashy like Lone Tree or Avada Center or something like that. But something that really fits our community, that can fit up to 500 people for the Littleton Youth Ballet, for their Nutcracker, and the symphony can perform in, and that Town Hall Art Center can use as like a black box, and just different ways to use a space. But a mill levy or a lottery or just because for us to get a private financer to come in and build a 25 million, $30 million performing arts center, I mean, maybe, Warren Buffett doesn't have anything to do with his money, so he's gonna bring it here. But he's not, yeah. So, I just kind of want to start putting seeds in people's heads of what else we could do to raise those kind of funds for something quirky and interesting that all of our performing arts can use, as well as gallery space, right? And so, yeah, that whole build it and they will come kind of dream thing.
I could go in the machine building. I think it's for sale.
Been there.
On Curtis,
I don't think it can fit.
the big arching,
JD's been dealing with that.
it's like a really old, like.
I mean, I think we can all think of different spaces, but again,
Let's
It's
get
in
rid
the-
of dish. Kick 'em out.
I think that, and we talked about this, and council actually asked about it on Tuesday night, is do we need a space? And what we heard through the strategic plan was there is a desire to have additional space or spaces for art at every size, scope, and level. The answer that Denise and I offered was, we don't know. And one of the lead things in that strategic plan is to really start a feasibility study to understand what is the need, how often would it be used, where would it be used, by whom would it be used, how would it operate, how would it be funded? And so that is sort of the key kickoff, is answering the question. We believe, and we've heard from many people that a space is needed, but our responsibility will be to answer the big questions of how, what, where, why, all of those things. And I'm looking forward to that over the course of what will likely be the next year or two, because that's a big apple to take a bite out of.
huge.
If it could also be used for private events, I think that could be.
I mean, I think the sky's the limit,
'Cause that would
literally.
help fund it.
So
You run into a lot of maintenance issues with those type as well.
Sure.
So-
And
As
staffing.
somebody who runs events, there's not a lot of spaces to go to.
No, you're
What were you
right.
gonna say?
I was gonna ask you if there was anything else roundtable wise that you wanted to cover.
No, just that they did a Dungeons and Dragons play performance at the Sydney Opera House.
Oh, cool.
Of all things to perform. But for those of you that know my husband, who's a Dungeons and Dragons aficionado, he was thrilled beyond his wildest imagination. But it kind of lends it to what are different things that we can use the space for? And, I think we're just not talking about opera or, Shakespeare or whatever. Let's look at fun and adventuresome things. That's all.
Tim?
Just quick plugs for Once, playing at Town Hall Art Center right now. It's one of my favorite movies and musicals of all time. And we haven't gotten there yet, but we're on our way here in the next week and a half or so. And I think everyone should probably check it out because their productions are always great and it's great material. And at the library, there is the youth reading competition starting up. So if any of you guys have kids who are creative, I know at least one of them does over here, very creative. And
He's
So,
working on his submission right now.
I figured he probably was. So it's a cool event. So that's all.
How long does Once run till?
The end of the month, I think the 27th, 28th.
Got my submission in for the craft fair.
Oh, you at your booth.
Hope so, haven't heard yet.
You might know
I
someone.
made my payment.
There you go.
I was also gonna say, I got to see Once last weekend, and it is, if you've never seen it live on stage, it's different from most other musicals in that the show starts out 30 minutes before the start time. So if it's a 7:30 show, it really starts at around 7. All of the actors are on stage. There is a bar on stage. So the audience is invited onto the stage with the actors. They're singing, they're dancing, every one of the actors plays at least 2, if not 3 instruments throughout the show. They are all over the theater. They are up and down the aisles playing the ukulele, the accordion, the clarinet, guitars. I mean, it is an experience unlike anything that I've seen there. It's a great story and very well done. So I would also plug Town Hall. Rock's Art Gallery tomorrow night has their first Friday, final Friday, second, whatever Friday tomorrow night is. It's that Friday.
Second Friday.
Second Friday.
Yeah.
At that gallery in Aspen Grove. That's always a nice pop in and pop out for 30 minutes. And Voices West has something coming up. The symphony will have another, anyways, lots to see and do. And I encourage that participation.
Littleton Youth Ballet has Alice in Wonderland coming up at Lone Tree Arts Center. It's
Sorry, where is it?
Lone Tree Arts Center. It is an interesting schedule because they had to book around some other things. So they are actually, I had to look it up to make sure I got it right. Sunday, May 18th is the first show, but it goes through Saturday, June 7th. So there's 5 shows peppered in through there. There's some matinees, there's some evening performances, but it is a really cool show. And this year, they don't normally do this, a Little Alice part that is the Eat Me, Drink Me part. And they are using some of our really small ballerinas from Ballet 2 to fit that part. So it'll be really sweet and cute and they're doing a great job. So go see it.
Good. Anything else for the good of the group? All right, then we will adjourn this meeting at 7:36, I think. Yep. With thanks and appreciation to everybody.
Thank you.
See you in June.
Joni, I had a note to you.
Tell you
and Tim sat down.
About your stuff.
Oh.
We brought our kindergarten.